You stand at the threshold of your own story, though much of it is written in shadows. The first thing you must know is that the fire which burns within your family's history is not an enemy. It is a forge. It is the secret alchemical flame that shapes the soul into its true form. When I speak of fire, I do not mean the comfortable warmth of a hearth, but the fire that sears, that exposes, that destroys illusions, so that something deeper may be born. Many of you carry wounds that are older than your own breath, pains that are not entirely yours, yet flow through your veins as though you were born with them. You may call them curses, traumas, or burdens, but I call them invitations. The psyche is not shaped in silence or ease. It is shaped in the tension between light and shadow, between what you long for and what you fear most. And nowhere is this tension more alive than within your family. When you were born, you did not enter a blank canvas. You entered a field of invisible patterns, of untold stories, of unconscious forces that have been moving long before your name was spoken. Each family is a microcosm, a universe of archetypes playing out their eternal roles. The mother who cannot give warmth because her own heart was frozen long ago. The father who stands distant, not because he does not love, but because his soul has been burdened by the weight of generations. The sibling who competes not from malice, but from a silent fear that love is scarce. These are not merely individuals. They are vessels of the collective unconscious, carrying both light and darkness from the past. And you, whether you realize it or not, have been called to step into this living drama, not only to suffer it, but to awaken through it. The pain of your family is not accidental. It is not a punishment from some distant god, nor is it a cruel twist of fate. It is the fire that wants to make you conscious. The more you resist it, the more it burns. But when you begin to turn toward it, when you look into its flames with courage, you start to see its meaning. You may discover that what you hated most in your parents is something buried in yourself. You may see that the anger, the betrayal, or the silence that defined your childhood is part of a deeper story that belongs not just to them, but to a lineage of souls, all struggling to emerge from darkness into light. Do not mistake this for sentimentality. Healing does not come by romanticizing the past or forgiving too quickly. True healing comes when you dare to confront the shadow, to see what lies hidden beneath the surface. Your family's shadow is your own. If you deny it, you become its prisoner. But if you face it, if you allow yourself to feel the grief, the rage, the confusion that has been passed down like an inheritance, then you are no longer its victim. You become its transformer. I have seen countless people who try to escape their family pain by cutting ties, by running into the arms of strangers, by burying themselves in work, addictions, or endless distractions. But the unconscious is merciless in its insistence. It will find you again, in your relationships, in your dreams, in your own children. The very patterns you swore you would never repeat will surface, because the psyche longs not for escape, but for integration. Your task is not to run from your family's fire, but to enter it with the awareness that you are stronger than you think. The soul knows how to walk through fire without being destroyed. Consider your dreams. Have you noticed how often they speak in symbols that seem familiar yet strange? A burning house, a crying child, a dark figure standing in the hallway of your mind. These are not random images. They are the voice of your unconscious calling you back to the places where you left pieces of yourself behind. A dream of fire may be your psyche's way of telling you that transformation is near. A dream of a parent or sibling, even long after they have left your life, is the soul's way of reminding you that you cannot sever the roots without first understanding them. There is an archetype I call the wounded heir. This is a child born into a family that carries an unspoken wound, a history of abandonment, betrayal, or silent suffering. The wounded heir often grows up feeling different, alien, or overly sensitive, as though they do not belong to the tribe they were born into. And yet, this sensitivity is precisely what gives them the power to break the cycle. They are the ones who see what others refuse to see. They feel the pain that others numb. They carry the question, why must it be this way? And it is through this questioning that the fire begins to reveal its true purpose. You may be this wounded heir. You may be the one who is called to turn the family pain into wisdom, but wisdom is not given. It is forged. Imagine the blacksmith. He takes rough metal, cold and unshaped, and he places it into the fire. He does not do this once, but again and again, striking, heating, and cooling, until the metal reveals its true form. This is what your family pain does to you. It places you in the fire of conflict, of misunderstanding, of longing, until your soul begins to awaken to its own strength. If you could see yourself as I see you, you would realize that every tear you have shed, every wound you have carried, is shaping you into something unbreakable. There is a story in every family that no one wants to tell. Perhaps it is the story of a grandmother who lost everything but never spoke of it. Perhaps it is the story of a father who was humiliated and learned to live behind walls of silence. These unspoken stories do not vanish. They live in the unconscious, waiting for someone to give them voice. Sometimes you are chosen as the one who must speak what has been buried. This is not an easy task. It can feel like betrayal, as though you are breaking the family's code of silence. But in truth, you are bringing light into the darkness. You are liberating not only yourself, but all who came before you. Do not be afraid of your anger towards your family. Do not be afraid of the grief that rises like a tide when you remember certain moments. These emotions are not signs of weakness. They are signals that the psyche is alive, that the fire is still burning. When you allow yourself to feel fully, you are already stepping into the process of transformation. But feeling is not the end. You must also learn to see beyond the surface, to recognize the archetypal forces at play. Perhaps your mother's coldness is not truly about you, but about her own unhealed child. Perhaps your father's distance is the mask of a man who was never allowed to cry. When you begin to see these patterns, not as personal failings, but as the expression of a larger unconscious drama, compassion is born, not the shallow compassion that excuses everything, but the deep compassion that understands the soul's suffering. The collective unconscious is like a river that flows beneath the surface of every family. It carries the myths, the fears, the unresolved struggles of those who came before. You cannot stop this river from flowing, but you can learn to navigate it. If you ignore it, it will sweep you away. If you face it, you can learn to swim in its currents and even draw from its wisdom. This is the work of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. Beyond the masks and roles your family gave you. But individuation is not about rejecting your family. It is about integrating their fire into your own soul. To walk the path of individuation is to descend into the depths of your own psyche, where the echoes of your family's pain live alongside your own. Many people misunderstand this journey. They think it means becoming independent in a superficial sense, severing all ties and declaring themselves free. But freedom is not found in rejection. It is found in transformation. You cannot escape what you have not yet integrated. What you resist becomes stronger in the shadows, and what you refuse to feel continues to dictate your life from the darkness. The unconscious does not vanish simply because you ignore it. It waits for you, patient and relentless, until you turn toward it with the courage of someone who seeks truth above all else. I want you to understand that the fire you inherited is not meant to consume you, but to reveal you. When you encounter the same patterns of pain again and again, when you find yourself drawn to relationships that mirror the wounds of your childhood, when you see the same conflicts emerging, no matter how far you run, this is not a sign that you are broken beyond repair. It is the voice of the unconscious asking to be heard. It is your soul's way of saying, look here, this is where you must heal. This is the shadow you must face. Do you know why you are drawn to certain people? Why you feel both love and fear in the presence of those who remind you of your family? It is because the psyche seeks completion. It seeks to heal the fractures of the past by recreating them in the present. This can be dangerous if you remain unconscious of it. You will keep choosing what hurts you, believing it is love, because something deep within is trying to resolve an old story. But when you become aware of the pattern, when you begin to see that the fire you feel is not just from this moment, but from the past that still burns within you, then you can choose differently. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. Family pain is one of the deepest fires, because it is where we first learned what love is, and often what it is not. The child who grows up longing for affection learns to adapt, to become what the family needs, to hide certain parts of themselves, to avoid rejection. This child grows into an adult who still wears the mask of survival, believing they must please, achieve, or remain silent to be loved. But this mask, this false self, is not who you are. The fire of your family pain will continue to burn until it melts the mask away, until you are willing to meet your own soul without the armor you once needed. The shadow of the family is powerful because it is collective. It is not just your own fear or your own rage. It is the fear and rage of generations. When you feel as though you are carrying more than your share, when the weight of your emotion seems too heavy to be only yours, that is because you are feeling the echoes of those who came before you. This is not a curse, but a calling. The unconscious chooses those who are capable of bearing the weight of transformation. You were not chosen because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to see what others could not bear to see. And yet, your strength does not lie in fighting the past, but in allowing it to teach you. Look closely at your family stories. What are the myths that shaped you? What were you told about love, about success, about who you are allowed to be? These myths are not just personal, they are archetypal. Perhaps your family carried the myth of the hero, always striving, always sacrificing, but never resting. Or perhaps the myth of the victim, always at the mercy of life, never seeing its own power. These myths live in the collective unconscious, and they repeat themselves until someone breaks the cycle. To break the cycle, you must first see it. You must look at your life with the eyes of the soul, recognizing the symbols and patterns that have been directing you like unseen hands. Sometimes the fire of family pain manifests as dreams of endless rooms in an old house. You walk through the corridors, opening doors that lead to memories you thought were forgotten. This is the psyche's way of guiding you back to the root of the wound. Each room you enter, each memory you face is another piece of your soul waiting to be reclaimed. Do not be afraid of these rooms. They are not there to haunt you, but to reveal you. Behind every shadow, there is a fragment of your own light, waiting to be freed. The process of healing family pain is not linear. It comes in waves, like fire flaring and then dying down, only to rise again when you least expect it. One moment you may feel as though you have forgiven and moved on, and the next, an old wound opens with the same rawness as before. Do not judge yourself for this. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about learning to carry it with wisdom. The scar is not a sign of weakness, but of survival. It is the mark of someone who has walked through fire and emerged with a deeper understanding of life. There is a deep mystery in the way pain and love are intertwined. Many people fear that if they look too closely at their family's pain, they will lose their love for them. But the opposite is true. When you truly see the suffering that shaped your parents, your siblings, your ancestors, you begin to understand them not as perfect beings, but as humans caught in their own unconscious battles. This understanding opens the door to compassion, not the naive compassion that excuses harm, but the profound compassion that sees the shared struggle of the human soul. Through this compassion, you free yourself from the chains of resentment and bitterness. You do not forget what was done, but you learn to hold it without being consumed by it. In every family, there is an archetype of the Redeemer, the one who carries the potential to transform the inherited wounds into wisdom. This archetype often suffers deeply because they are called to see what others deny. But their suffering is not in vain. Through their inner work, they bring healing not only to themselves, but to the entire lineage. You may be this Redeemer. If you are listening to my words and they stir something deep within you, then you are already on this path. It is not an easy path, but it is sacred. You cannot fully know who you are until you confront the forces that shaped you. This means looking at the fire of family pain, not with fear, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? What part of my soul is being forged in these flames? When you approach your wounds with this question, they begin to transform. The same fire that once burned you becomes the fire that illuminates your path. The same darkness that once terrified you becomes the womb of your rebirth. I must tell you that individuation, the journey of becoming whole, is not about perfection. It is not about healing every wound or silencing every shadow. It is about becoming conscious. Consciousness means seeing clearly, even when what you see is painful. It means accepting that you are both light and shadow. Both the child who was hurt and the adult who now has the power to heal. Consciousness is the fire that burns away illusion, leaving only what is real. If you listen deeply, you can feel the presence of your ancestors, not just in a mystical sense, but in the patterns of your thoughts, in the rhythm of your emotions, in the dreams that visit you at night. They are speaking to you, not always in words, but in symbols, in subtle nudges that guide you toward the work you are meant to do. When you honor your family pain, when you face it, instead of running from it, you are also honoring them. You are giving meaning to their struggles by ensuring that the suffering does not repeat endlessly, unconscious and unacknowledged. The alchemy of the soul is not a metaphor, but a living reality. Just as the ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold, your psyche seeks to turn pain into wisdom. The lead of your family's wounds, the anger, the silence, the unspoken grief contains within it the gold of transformation. But this gold is not given freely. You must enter the fire, you must endure the heat, and you must trust that something beautiful is being forged, even when all you see is smoke. There will come a moment, often, in the quiet of night or in the solitude of your thoughts, when you feel the presence of the fire pressing closer. It may appear as a sudden memory, a surge of emotion, or a dream that refuses to let you go. This is the moment when the unconscious calls you to step deeper into the work. Most people turn away at this threshold, fearing that if they enter, they will be consumed. But you must understand that this fire does not want to destroy you. It wants to burn away the false identities, the inherited masks, the patterns that no longer serve the life of your soul. Family pain is often like an unspoken ritual. Each generation repeats the same roles, the same struggles, as though bound by an invisible script. The father who cannot show affection creates a son who feels unseen, who grows into a man who does not know how to express tenderness. The mother who carries silent grief creates a daughter who believes that suffering is the price of love. These cycles continue until someone dares to break them. Breaking the cycle does not mean blaming or rejecting. It means becoming conscious of it. It means saying, I will not pass this fire blindly to the next generation. I will hold it in my own hands and learn from its heat. Have you ever wondered why certain memories cling to you? Why some moments from childhood remain so vivid, as if they happened yesterday? These moments are like sparks from the family fire, seared into your psyche because they carry meaning. A harsh word spoken when you were young, a look of disappointment, a silence when you needed comfort. These are not just random events. They are the places where your soul first encountered shadow. They are the moments when you began to shape yourself around the pain, creating defenses, masks, and illusions to survive. But now, as an adult, those same defenses may keep you from living fully. The fire asks you to look again, not with the eyes of the wounded child, but with the wisdom of the awakened self. One of the most profound realizations on this journey is that the people who hurt you were also shaped by fire. Your parents, your grandparents, they too were children once carrying wounds. They did not know how to heal. This does not excuse their actions, but it allows you to see them with greater clarity when you recognize that their pain was passed to you, not out of malice, but out of unconsciousness. You begin to see the larger pattern. You see that the fire is not personal, it is archetypal. It is part of the human story. The eternal struggle between shadow and light. You may feel anger as you face this truth. Let the anger come. Anger is the fire's first language. It burns because it wants you to move, to change, to awaken. But do not stop at anger. Go deeper. Beneath the anger lies grief. And beneath grief lies love. Love for the life you wish you had, for the parents you longed for the self that was never fully seen. This love is the key. It is the force that allows you to hold the fire without being consumed. To see your family not only through the lens of pain, but through the lens of compassion. In my years of studying the psyche, I have seen that dreams often carry the wisdom we cannot yet speak. If you dream of your family home burning, this is not a sign of doom. It is a sign of transformation. The house is the symbol of your inner structure, the old patterns that need to be released so that a new form can emerge. If you dream of a lost child or a wounded animal, this may be your own neglected self, calling for attention and care. The unconscious speaks in images because images carry the power of feeling. When you learn to listen to these images, to honor their meaning, you begin to reclaim the pieces of your soul that were scattered in the fire. The archetype of the child is especially important in this work. It is the part of you that remains pure, unbroken, and full of potential, no matter what has happened. Even when you feel burned by life, the child remains within you, waiting to be recognized. This child is not naive. It is the seed of your true self. When you reconnect with it, you begin to feel the joy, the wonder, and the freedom that were buried beneath the ashes of family pain. This is why I often tell my students, healing is not about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you were before the fire covered you in smoke. But do not be fooled into thinking this journey is easy. To face the family shadow is to enter a labyrinth. At times, you will feel lost, as if every path leads back to the same old wound. This is part of the process. The psyche does not heal in straight lines. It moves in spirals, revisiting old pain from new angles until the meaning is fully integrated. Do not rush this process. Trust the fire. Trust that even when it feels overwhelming, something is being forged in you that could not be created any other way. There will be moments when you feel tempted to turn away, to numb yourself with distractions or to blame others for the pain. But if you can remain with the discomfort, if you can breathe into the fire instead of running from it, you will discover a strength you never knew you had. This strength is not loud or forceful. It is quiet and enduring, like the glow of embers that remain long after the flames have died down. It is the strength of someone who has faced their own darkness and found light on the other side. Remember that the fire is not only about suffering, It is also about passion, creativity, and transformation. The same energy that once caused pain can be transformed into the energy of creation. Many of the world's greatest works of art, literature, and spiritual insight have been born from the fire of family wounds. When you stop resisting your pain and begin to express it through words, through art, through the simple act of speaking your truth, you turn the fire into something sacred. You give meaning to the suffering. And in doing so, you free yourself from its grip. Sometimes the fire teaches us through relationships. You may find yourself drawn to people who ignite old wounds, who remind you of the very dynamics you wanted to escape. This can be painful, but it is also an opportunity. These relationships are mirrors showing you the parts of yourself that still need healing. Do not see them as punishments. See them as chances to break the pattern, when you can respond with awareness instead of instinct, when you can choose love over fear. You are no longer bound by the fire. You are shaped by it. The archetype of the phoenix is perhaps the most powerful symbol of this journey. The phoenix burns not because it is cursed, but because it is being reborn. Your family pain is your fire of rebirth. Each time you face it, you are shedding an old layer, an old identity, an old story. What rises from the ashes is not a version of you that is free from all pain, but a version that understands pain's place in the greater story of your life. You become someone who can hold both the wound and the wisdom, both the shadow and the light, without denying either. There comes a moment in the journey when you no longer see the fire as something outside of you, but as something that lives within, as a sacred force that has always been guiding you toward your true self. At first, the fire feels like an enemy, something to run from, something to suppress with endless distractions. But as you grow, you begin to see that the fire is your teacher. It strips away the illusions you cling to, the masks you inherited from your family, the roles you played to survive. It leaves you bare, vulnerable, and trembling. Yet it is in this very nakedness that your soul begins to breathe freely. When you stand in the center of the fire and allow yourself to feel without judgment or resistance, something extraordinary happens. The stories you were told about who you are begin to dissolve. The voices that said you are not enough, that you must earn love, that you must hide your true self, start to fade. In their place arises a quiet, steady voice, a voice that has been buried under the weight of generations. This is your true voice, the voice of the self that existed before the wounds, before the pain. It is the voice of the soul, clear and unwavering, reminding you that you are not defined by your family's shadows, but by the light you carry within. But do not mistake this awakening for an ending. It is only the beginning. The work of transformation is ongoing. You will still feel the echoes of your family's pain. You will still find yourself triggered, drawn into old patterns. Yet something will have shifted. You will no longer be controlled by these patterns, because you will see them for what they are: shadows, not truths. You will stand in the fire and feel its heat, but you will not be consumed. Instead, you will allow it to refine you, to shape you into the person you were meant to become. Think of your life as a great tapestry. woven from threads of joy and sorrow, light and darkness. The family pain you carry is one of these threads. It may seem ugly, rough, and heavy, but it is part of the larger design. Without it, the tapestry would be incomplete. When you step back and look at your life with the eyes of the soul, you begin to see the beauty in the contrast. The moments of suffering give depth to the moments of joy. The fire that burned you also illuminated the path toward wisdom. This is the paradox of life. The very thing that hurts you is also the thing that awakens you. You may ask, why me? Why must I be the one to face this fire? The answer is both simple and profound, because something in you is ready to awaken, to break the chain of unconscious suffering that has bound your family for generations. You are the one who has the sensitivity to feel, the courage to see, the strength to stand in the flames and not look away. Do not underestimate this calling. It is not a curse, but a gift. You are not here to carry your family's pain forever. You are here to transform it into wisdom, compassion, and freedom. There is a deep archetypal truth that lives in this work. Every wound is a portal. When you enter the wound consciously, when you allow yourself to explore its depths rather than covering it with denial, you discover hidden treasures. These treasures may come in the form of creativity, spiritual insight, or an unshakable sense of inner strength. The wound is not where you end, it is where you begin to see who you truly are. Your family pain, as heavy as it feels, is the portal through which your soul is trying to emerge. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine the fire not as something destructive, but as a circle of light around you. See yourself standing within it, not as a victim, but as a participant in the sacred ritual. Feel the heat, the power, the aliveness of the flames. What is being burned away? What old stories? What false identities are falling into ash? And what remains at the center of the circle, there is something that cannot be burned. Your true essence, your soul, the eternal self that has been waiting for you to come home. The journey does not end when the fire cools. You carry its warmth with you. You become the one who knows how to walk through life with both open eyes and an open heart. You understand that every person you meet is carrying their own fire, their own family pain, their own hidden battles. This understanding fills you with compassion, not the shallow kind that pities, but the deep compassion that knows what it means to suffer and to heal. You become a mirror for others, showing them that it is possible to face the fire and emerge stronger, wiser, and more alive. In the end, the family pain that once felt like a chain becomes the very thing that sets you free. It teaches you that your worth is not defined by the roles you were given or the wounds you inherited. It shows you that love is not something you must earn, but something that flows naturally when you remove the barriers around your heart. It reminds you that even in the darkest moments, there is a spark of light that cannot be extinguished. As you leave this space of reflection, carry with you the knowledge that the fire is not over. It is not something you finish, but something you learn to dance with. There will be days when it flares unexpectedly, when old wounds rise to the surface, but now you know how to face them. You know that each time you walk through the fire, you emerge a little more whole, a little more yourself. So I tell you this, do not fear the fire. Welcome it. Let it teach you Let it burn away the false stories so that your true story can be revealed. Let it shape you into someone who is not defined by pain, but by the wisdom that comes from it. Your family pain is the fire that shapes you, but you are the one who decides what you will become in its flames. And if you have the courage to walk this path, you will discover that the fire has not been trying to destroy you at all. It has been trying to set you free.